All right, joining us here today this afternoon on our Ford Zoom call, the new driver, the number 41 Ford Mustang for Stewart-Haas Racing, Ryan Preece. Ryan, welcome, congratulations, and just kind of, I'm sure this has probably been a busy morning for you, but just kind of tell us about this opportunity, and then we'll move on to questions from our guests.
Yeah, it's a busy morning is definitely a good way of putting it. Last night, there's just been a lot to think about over the last week or so. Just things have been happening so fast, right? But to me, this is that opportunity that this is a great opportunity. This is a second chance and something where I've won in everything I've ever been in. I've won so many different championships at a local level, whether it was track championships or regional championships. It's just been something that I've learned how to be a winner, and I wanted to do it at NASCAR's highest level. I've bet on myself a lot throughout my career, and KHI has bet on me as well when they helped me do those two truck races a year ago, and we were able to go out and win Nashville. So it's a great opportunity for me to do it with performance and Stewart-Haas Racing, and I'm ready, man. I hear everybody talking about being ready for the off season and kind of just disconnecting and decompressing, but I'm certainly not in any position to do something like that, and I've never been able to turn off that switch anyways. So I'm ready to jump in and it.
All right, we've got questions lined up here, so let's get started with Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Ryan, there was a lot of chatter about, oh, could you get this Xfinity ride or this truck ride? I'm curious if you turned down any rides just on faith that this one would come through, and if so, why?
I'm sorry, you cut back in there. Say that again.
There was a lot of talk about you potentially turning down some Xfinity and truck rides or having potential to go that route. And I'm curious, did you turn anything down just in faith of having the ride and getting the 41 ride?
Yeah, so that's a good point, Bob. I did turn down truck opportunities, Xfinity opportunities. There was quite a few different teams that came to me, whether they were full time or part time, and I thought about how, like, if there was the smallest bit of opportunity for me to end up at Stewart-Haas, I wasn't going to walk away. I was willing to sit there until there was absolutely no hope, and possibly be jobless, possibly not have a ride. But I was willing to take that risk. So and ultimately it's worked out, and this opportunity has come. So it's kind of like when I think back to 2017 and the risk that I took then. I'm sure, it's 5 years later, and I think about that risk, and I think to myself, man, that could have gone way different, just like this could have gone way different. But I've never been the conservative type of person, and I'm willing to risk it all. So and it's worked out. So it's a great opportunity, and something that, not only myself, but my fans and a lot of the Northeast has just been very vocal about it. So, and I'm not saying, Tad and Jody Gerschechter were great to me, and it didn't work out with us, and it didn't work out how either of us would have liked it to. But this is that next opportunity, and something that, like I said, I've won so many races at different tracks and championships that this is what I've been trying to do all my life at NASCAR's highest level.
So why will you win with this opportunity when you couldn't win with JTG?
So I think there's just, within the team's building, there's just a lot of pieces of the puzzle, and that's something that I feel is extremely important this year when I was doing the sim work and just being around the teams, is kind of seeing a firsthand look of how Kevin and Rodney work their relationship, or even Chase, with theirs. So it's kind of an eye-opening experience, but I've learned what I need as a race car driver in order to communicate or get the most out of the people that are working with me, or what I can do better. So it's a second chance, but at the same time, there's a lot to be said to having OEM support, and having Ford Performance in your corner, and everything that they bring to our table. It creates a great opportunity for myself, and more tools in the toolbox to.
Okay, Ryan. Obviously, we've had a little glitches there with Ryan's connection, so he has dropped off. Well, he's still here.
No, I'm here.
There you go.
My phone kept trying to connect with a cell phone signal, so I turned it on airplane mode.
There we go.
Couldn't have a problem.
All right. Bob, are you good with that? Do you need any more? I think we got most.
I just had one. Yeah, I just had one other quick one. Do you have any input on who's going to be your crew chief, or do you already know who's going to be your crew chief? How's that process? Thank you.
That's still something that's being worked through.
All right, thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. Let's go to Marty Sakala. Go ahead, Marty. You're up next.
Thank you very much, Dan. Ryan, congratulations on this big day for you, man. What have the emotions been like for you during your time, and from being released by JTG to being a reserve driver at Stewart-Haas to now the day being signed?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a feeling of relief. It's something that, man, it still really hasn't sunk in. It's definitely sunk in a little more than yesterday, but it's that opportunity that, being able to, first off, I've been somebody who's driven Fords all my life, and to be associated with Ford Performance and Stewart-Haas Racing, somebody who I've idolized as well. Just as a grassroots racer, I've done the grind. I've done as much as you possibly can at a short track level, trying to make it, and the sacrifice that I've done to get to this point. So it's definitely a feeling of relief, and I'm really looking forward to. It's crazy. The season just ended for most, but I'm ready to start this season and get working with the team and hopefully start off running.
And one more for me. I know last year you only had 2 starts in the next gen last season. What did you learn from the track time and what you watched on film and data that you could take over to this year as you have your first full-time next gen season?
I actually did 3 because I did LA, Dover, and Charlotte. So I was actually watching Charlotte's practice last night as well as Dover's, and even qualifying. So it's already looking back and trying to see some of the things that can help you going forward. But the car is just so different from what it was years ago to the old car, and I think that's just a process that everybody's working through right now. The drivers, the teams, it's a constantly evolving sport, right? Or it's constantly evolving, and something that just everybody's learning about it. We haven't had anything like this, so I'm looking forward to being a part of the process and just really trying to get ahead of that curve and come, win some races. That's what I have to do in order to succeed. So that's what we're going to try and do.
Thank you, sir. Happy holidays to you.
You as well.
Okay, let's move on to Nathan Solomon. Go ahead, Nathan.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Ryan. Congratulations. This reserve role that you're in with Stewart-Haas in 2022, helping the team in the shop, doing some of that simulator work. Curious if you could kind of talk about what things kind of look like for you on a day-to-day basis this year, especially on weeks when you weren't preparing for a truck race or an Xfinity race.
Well, that's a good question. I've already been kind of trying to structure my days. So I feel like they're the most benefit to everybody, whether that's spending time with the pit crew, or I had this conversation with one of the guys from the 41 team, and how beneficial would it be for me driving the pit car a couple times a week, and just so they're used to how I enter the box, just because we've seen it, how important that is, and how 0.3 of a second didn't necessarily make or break you before with track position, and now 0.3 of a second is like a second and a half from what it used to be. So it's just making sure that I'm doing all the little things and being a part of that process that I've been talking about, and just maximizing everything and anything that you can as a race car driver, and being the most prepared that you can be.
And then one more thing. I mean, what does this mean for you personally? I mean, you kind of talked about this being a second chance for you. A lot of guys who lose cup rides aren't always able to get them back. So just what does it mean for you to get back to this point?
Yeah, usually it works the other way around. Usually when you go out of the Cup Series full time, you tend to be part time, and then it seems like your career could be over. This is that shot in the arm or shot of adrenaline that I feel like my career needed. And a lot of, I mean, my career in general has been unorthodox anyways. I mean, if most people, to kind of like Bob said, what makes the difference between winning in this opportunity than JTG? I guess you could ask the same thing on why I didn't win in 2016, or what made the difference between me winning, in 2016 versus 2017 or 18. It's just what I need as a race car driver to succeed. I see the same things at SHR that I felt like I needed at JGR, and that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Zach Sterniolo. Go ahead, Zach.
Thanks, guys. My connection's not great here, so let me know if there's any issues with hearing me. But Ryan, first of all, congratulations. Have you had any conversations with Cole Custer? I know you were participating in the competition meetings throughout the course of the season. Did you have any conversations with him as things became more possible that you would end up in this car?
I haven't. I've known Cole a long time. We were actually in NASCAR Next together, so I have a lot of respect for him, and it's just the way things worked out. So I'm looking forward to having the opportunity that's in front of me, and thankful for all the people and everything that we have going into the off season.
And then additionally, when we spoke in the summer, you said then that you had felt as confident as ever that partners and everything would come together and it'll be this great fairy tale ending. But at that point, you had no ride, and then Eric decided, Eric goes back to the 10 car. How did your confidence change as the season progressed, and what really kept the belief alive that you would have? Well,
that's a good question. And I can tell you that there's been a lot of deep breaths and a lot of nights where you try to think of what more can you do? What more can you say? It comes to, there's so many different factors when it comes to getting an opportunity like this. And it takes people that believe in you. It takes sponsors that believe in you. It takes the blessing from multiple different people. And we were, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of people that are really close to me that thought I was crazy a month ago or a month and a half ago, where people, are asking you to drive their race cars, and you're basically saying, I can't walk away from it. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not gonna look in the mirror, like I said earlier, and wonder that if I waited, it could have been a day, it could have been, hours, it could have been a week. I don't know, but I wasn't willing to walk away from it, which might seem crazy to most, but to me, it made perfect sense. So I hoped for the best, and I did all the things that I felt like I could do to help push it along. And at the end of the day, it took everything and everyone, and make it happen, and it's happened.
Thanks, and congrats again.
Thank you.
Mitchell Brewer. Hey, Mitchell.
Ryan, according to all the reports, Tony Stewart was really the one that was pushing hard for you to get this opportunity, the number 41 car. What does it mean to you to have somebody like Tony going to bat for you?
Well, it's just like I say about Kevin. It's moments like that you never forget, and the respect that you have for people like him, and I have a lot of respect for guys like Gene as well, and everybody in this industry. But Tony, I remember I was sitting at home on my couch when somebody sent me the screenshot of kind of what was taking place a month ago, and I mean, that could have gone either way, right? So it's just a guy like Tony Stewart that, I've always been a huge fan of USAC midgets and sprint cars and silver crowns. That's something that my father used to take me to when I was racing quarter midgets a long time ago. And I have a die cast of his, it was Bass Pro midget that I still have in the sprint car. And I've just been a fan of his since I was a little kid. And I remember I had a broken wrist way, back when I was 15 or 14 years old, and he was racing a modified at Loudon, and he signed my cast for me. So there's a lot of memories there, and to have a guy like him in your corner and trying to help you fight for that opportunity, because sometimes it just takes somebody cracking that door open so you can bust through it. And ultimately it's taken a lot of people to do this. And like I've said about Kevin's been a huge part in creating opportunities for me and letting me do what I can do and show everyone that I can win.
Thank you, and best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Dustin Albino. Hey, Dustin, go ahead.
Hey, Ryan. With Zach's first question, you mentioned your relationship with Cole and how it dates, pretty far back. Now he's, though, in a similar spot as you were this past year, different but similar. What advice would you give him should he one day want to get back to the Cup Series?
I mean, I think, Cole's gonna be fine, and he's gonna go, and I feel like they're gonna succeed, and it's not easy by any means. It wasn't easy going into the off season myself, into November, December, and really not knowing what I was doing until January. So it's this sport is much mental as it is anything. And like I said, I know Cole, and he's a great guy, and I wish nothing but the best. And obviously I'm going to see him around plenty. So I hope it goes really well.
And just confirming, you found out yesterday, correct?
Correct.
Can you set the scene for us, like how that happened, what you were doing?
It's just been a wild ride. Let's just put it that way. And there's really no moment of where I could pinpoint and say, oh man, this is happening or it's not happening. But it really wasn't until late last night that I think everything really ultimately was coming together. And I think, yeah.
Cool. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, we got a couple more here, Ryan, then we'll let you go. Let's go to Matt Weaver. Hey, Matt. Matt, you're muted. Matt, we cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry, I have two mute buttons. I have
There
my
you go.
computer
All
mute
right.
and I have my mic mute.
We
Sorry
got
about
you.
that.
You're good.
Ryan, there were never any guarantees. So I'm curious how you approached this past year, given that in a lot of ways you couldn't control your own destiny. You didn't have enough truck starts or Xfinity starts to really make a constant impression. You were in the shop, you were in the sim room, you were running short track races. So I'm curious, what did you feel like you could do to kind of prove to everyone that if given this opportunity in the Cup Series, you could thrive and be a winner?
Well, I think, I don't know, Matt. Well, I do know, but Matt, I mean, you've been around me a long time and you've gotten to know me more than just Ryan Preece, the Cup driver, but Ryan Preece, the racer, and who I am and how relentless I'm willing to be. And you've been around us, quote unquote, modified racers, and kind of that. We're a different breed. We're relentless, and I'm relentless. So I think a lot of people have seen that this year, but man, it's just, I feel like the perception or really who I am, I've won in anything and everything I've ever been in. And this isn't going to change. I don't feel like I don't know how to drive a race car or win in the Cup Series. So I just, it's maximizing the little opportunities that you can get. I feel like there was a few other opportunities where sometimes things don't go your way, and we could have had a few more truck wins, but it was maximizing the things that I could maximize. And I feel like all those things came together, and as well as having the support from different partners and all those things that are coming together. So, it's so much, there's so much to it. And, but dating back, what I'm proud of is, actually, I got a text earlier from a guy, Ken Schrader, and I'll tell you guys a quick little story. I remember I met Ken Schrader about 3 years ago because I was renting a race shop that David Reagan owned, but bought it from Ken Schrader. And I didn't know Ken. All I knew was who he was and how badass it would be to see a guy like him in person show up at your shop. And he texted me and he said that this one's a checkbox for the Grassroots guys. And for those of you that follow local racing and Kyle Larson follows the World of Outlaws. I follow the modified tour and modified racing. So, I have competitors that I race against at that level texting me, congratulations. I have their respect. I have respect to people that, my elders and people that I respect. So, I think that's just what I'm really going to work on this year, is being more of a voice for all the guys that I've raced against or watch on at the grassroots level, and try to succeed for all them.
And then a follow up. Do you approach this year kind of like you're a rookie again? Because you hear people say the racing up front is way different than kind of in the mid pack, or you haven't consistently raced for wins at that level. And then you add in the fact that it's a new car, you have limited appearances in it, and so much is starting to change with this car. So do you feel like a rookie all over again?
No, I think I have enough experience and people know who I am or have been around me enough. And there's definitely a truth to the racing up front. It's a respect more than anything. So I would say you have to earn the respect of the people that are racing in the top 5 or top 10 week in and week out. But that's something that I've done my entire career, and I'll continue to do that. So, it's no different than, I'll use one example, Ross, for example. Ross is somebody I was teammates with. And, before this year, did you guys write him as going to the playoffs for the Final Four or see him as a contender week in and week out? And a lot of that comes down to how bad somebody wants it and what they're willing to do. And I think my past experiences show that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And I'm not willing to lose. I'm not willing to fail.
Thanks, RP.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt. We're going to close it out here, Ryan, with Dustin Long. Dustin Long, NBC. Go ahead, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Ryan, just to kind of follow up on that. As you noted, with Ross Chastain, you look at also Josh Berry, Ty Majeski, are all guys who I guess I'd say probably have had to grind it out like you've talked about, and in some cases getting second chances. All those guys race for championships in their series this year. Do you get a sense that teams are more open to those types of guys, or there's more avenues open? Obviously, money's always a big factor and will always be a big factor, but you look at what you're getting the opportunity, what Ross, Josh, and Ty have done this year. Is this a little bit of a trend, or is this just all coincidence happening at the same time?
I mean, I think the cream rises to the top at the end of the day. I think there's something to be said about that, but we've all had our different ways of going about it. You know, I've never run a full-time deal with an Xfinity or a truck team to go after those opportunities, but I have helped get teams to the owners championship Final Four, or even give them an opportunity like we did with the 17 this year. And so I've been a part of those process. I've been a part of that process. It's just, if it's really difficult to go back and go into detail of, you know, kind of how all of our careers are so different yet so close and similar, but we're all representing that Grassroots racing brand. You know, Josh Berry's a late model stock guy from North Carolina. Ty Majeski's a super late model standout from up in where is he from? Wisconsin, I believe. Wisconsin. So, and then I'm just a modified guy from Connecticut, and we've all been champions or won lots and lots of races, but we've had to dig deep. We've had to fight for every opportunity, because we don't necessarily have the easy path of having that millions, you know, that funding that it takes to make some of these cars or these organizations run. So the little opportunities that we do get, we have to take advantage of them. There are no second chances typically. This is a second chance for me, but they're far and few between. So I would say that there's been a lot of past experiences that I can learn from, and I feel like I have been learning from, but it's going to be a grind, but I'm certainly excited for it.
You talked about earlier, I think, about kind of representing the grassroots and trying to promote those guys and those that you've raced against. Is the word responsibility now that you're in this role? And look, I know you've got many other things to worry about, and you've got many other things on your plate, but is it, I don't know if you see it as responsibility, or if that's not the right word on how you view any type of role with the grassroots or the modifieds, or a position that you're in, and what, if any way you can open any doors.
No, there's absolutely a responsibility to it. And that's something that I think I can do a better job at. And I could have done a better job at the first time, but it's certainly something that I carry proudly, that, you know, I'm from the grassroots. I'm from Stafford Speedway. This year I pulled plenty of all-nighters working to try and go win races, in which we did. And that's a small glimpse of what a racer, in my eyes anyways, or where I'm from, is what we are. It's what I was taught growing up, to whether it's trying to go to the racetrack on a Friday or Saturday night or a Thursday or a Sunday, or something you need to get done. Man, racing's taught me so much. So it's just, I'm gonna try and do a better job to not only speak on it, but represent it and be who I am, and be a little bit more open on this is what I think a racer is, and what, you know, I want to be as a race car driver.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
No problem.